Okay, so I started to try to say this in the video that I was taking, and I had cars and stuff, so I kind of had to stop in the last part of what I was saying. Um, Essentially, right now, my situation is this. My friend had my car. I was on vacation 500 kilometers away. My friend called me halfway through my vacation, and she told me that she had been traveling on the Royal Road. There was a quarry truck ahead of her. They got close to the school. It's not quite to the school, it's just before. And a piece of metal, or what she thought was a piece of metal, came flying off the back of the truck and up underneath my vehicle that she was driving. It went underneath my right rear wheel. It totally obliterated my rim, my tire, my hubcap, the molding on my vehicle, and here's the kicker, my suspension. I went to a mechanic for a pre-inspection after I got back because my car, as another thing on top of this, is due for its inspection later on this month. I went to Wonder Auto and Phil had a look at it. I know Phil outside of work. When I brought my vehicle in, he popped it up on a hoist and he looked under my vehicle and he turned around and looked at me with the biggest eyes I've ever seen and beckoned me to the hoist. I went underneath the hoist and he points at my left rear suspension and he says, "You see that there?" And I said, "Yes." And then he points over to where my right rear suspension is supposed to be and he said, "You see that it's not there?" And I said, "Yes." He's like, "It's really supposed to be there." So literally, my car was dead in the water at that point. I did drive it back home because I had to get it back to the house. I had Hyundai tow it at that point, and they later on called me and proceeded to tell me that my suspension was actually mangled. It was pushed up and under and inside of my vehicle, like not in the cab, but like underneath the vehicle. It was twisted to the point that it was not visible to the naked eye when I looked at it and when the other mechanic looked at it. We thought somebody had maliciously taken it off my vehicle somehow. This being said, it was still there, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Hyundai, everybody I talk to keeps saying, "There's something she's not telling you. There's something she's not telling you." This is my best friend. She was doing me a favor with my car. So I was trying to... nothing that she's ever said to me would ever indicate that she lies to me, like everybody does, I guess, at some point, but we have a really good relationship. But they kept saying, something's not right, she's not telling you something. So, as a last resort, I posted a post on Fredericton Daily News in desperation because I paid $1,300 to fix the problem, and I had to rent some car rentals. So the actual damage itself, if you don't count the tire, the rim and stuff, because I couldn't afford to replace the exact ones, each one was like, the rim was $199, the tire was $180 something, and I don't remember what the rim cost, but anyway, way too much. So I have a Canadian Tire rim on it, and I have a secondhand tire from Charlie's on the north side of Fredericton. Not counting that little bit of money that I spent on those lesser quality items, everything else came to $1,000 approximately. The suspension and stuff at Hyundai, that cost me $711 and change. And the molding I purchased separately, and I just bought the part because it made it cheaper. And I had CarStar put it on for free for me, actually. The molding was $269 and change. So it totals, that bit of damage right there is about $1,000. My first car rental, I had it for just a couple days, and it was at Trias and up by Fairview, and they went above and beyond because the vehicle I had was $75 a day. And they pulled the car off of their lot that they were trying to sell to let me rent it because it was cheaper. Like, it was $38 not a month, sorry, but a day. And so anyway, the first bill was $232 and change. The second car rental was like 70 something dollars. I actually had the car for 2 days. They only charged me for one. So everybody around me, except for the city, is trying to bend over backwards to help me. So back to this post that I made online. I said, did anybody see this? Like, I'm in so much trouble. It costs. Sorry, it's cost me a lot. So somebody responds to me and they said, what you think happened may not have happened, because at this point the story was, and it looked like, an unsecure load on a quarry truck and a piece of metal flew off of it. I called the woman, who's the woman in the video that I also have, and her husband, and she tells me that it was a manhole cover. And my friend was driving the car. She either went over the manhole cover or went flying back from a truck. Regardless, somebody drove over the manhole cover, and the manhole cover went up in my back rear wheel and obliterated everything. Amanda was freaked out, and she kept driving up to work. Work is the Northside Superstore. I know you're saying, yes, she should have stopped, and I completely 100% agree. But when people are freaked out and really scared and like they don't think normal, right? So anyway, she got to work. She called me. She told me what happened. Then she called her insurance because we thought it was her insurance. It turns out, no, we're both naive. It's my vehicle, my insurance. I'm a new driver, so I didn't understand that. So anyway, when she comes back and tells me this, then I call my insurance company. My insurance company says, talk to the advice line before you make the claim. So I go to the advice line. They listen to the details. And when I called my insurance, at that point, the manhole cover story didn't exist. It was just a piece of metal that flew off a truck. We didn't know. To Amanda, it looked like a piece of metal flying off a truck because it happened too fast. This literally could have killed her if she had been 2 feet. If the cover had have came just a little bit more above where it did. She has 2 children that could have been in the back seat. She was coming from her house. They weren't there, but one of those children was back behind that wheel. Would have been sitting on top of that wheel, like where the seat is, like the wheel's underneath or whatever. So many dangerous things could have happened here. So anyway, the advice line basically tells me, don't file the claim. I'm a new driver. I had an accident in March. It was my own fault, but there was a blizzard involved and all this other stuff. And as a new driver, your insurance doubles the first year. And you have to pay that for like 5 or 6 years or something. I'm not 100% sure on the exact year, but it's 5 or 6 years. So my insurance went from $140 to $239. I lumped that, whether or not it was a blizzard or not. I did something wrong. So I'm paying my insurance. What they told me at that point, based on my description from what I said to them, they said that it would be counted as a single vehicle accident, which means I'm liable, even though I wasn't the one driving. I was 500 kilometers away, but because she was in my car and it happened to my car, it's my fault. So then that takes me to the point that could be considered a liability, which means they will no longer give me insurance. So if they don't give me my insurance, I lose the car because I have to find another company and possibly pay $300 something a month for insurance. And if you equate that to the average salary, which I'm at about $13 an hour, but I work at the superstore, so I make a $1.95 in comparison to a lot of people. That's a lot of money. So I decide, nope, I'm not going to call. It's not worth risking everything. Like the car would go, my insurance would go, my boyfriend's discount with his house will go, because my insurance is one of those combined things in order to get that discount through your bank or whatever it is. So it literally would mean if I became a liability with RBC, which is my insurance, or Aviva, they would no longer insure me. And if I could not get insurance somewhere else, I would literally lose everything, even my job, because I live out in Wasis. out in Cedar Hill Estates, and I can't walk to work. Like, it's just not possible. So I stand to lose, like, everything off of this incident. So the witnesses come forward from Facebook, and they tell me the manhole cover story. I have a video for you as well that doesn't involve me, per se. They met up with me. They told me today, I talked to them today on Facebook, and I sent them a message, and I asked them, or I told them, sorry, that the city had declined me. They declined me this morning. I didn't know that they had declined me. I called Megan at the city, and she told me that she hadn't talked to Jasmine yet, who's my advisor, and she said that she had left a message, and she's just waiting to hear back. So I work 7 to 4 today. At 4 o'clock, I call my advisor back with an hour's grace before she's done work for the day. And I ask her, do you know any information about this? And do you have anything new? And she says that the city declined me. She asked me if I'd been talking to Megan, and I had said yes, that she said she hadn't been talking to her. Jasmine had been talking to her. She was talking to her an approximation at about 11 o'clock or so. I'm now told that those 2 manholes that are in the other video, they were painted over today between 12 and 12:30. So if you can use your deduction skills, is that the right word? Something happened. I fully believe that they know that this was an issue with their manholes, and they're declining because they told my advisor that it should be covered under, what's the word? Just a minute. Sorry, I know this is a long video, but this is like one of the most important videos I've probably ever made. Comprehensive. So they're arguing that it should be under comprehensive, and my advisor says no, it was a manhole cover. I can't say what exactly she said because I can't remember. I don't want to put words in her mouth. Anyway, she disagrees with the city. The city has declined to help me. I know that the city probably has lots of bills and all that other stuff, and $1,300 is probably just a drop in the pot for them. At this point, I almost just want to make the scenario go away and lump like the $1,700 it'll cost me, because now that the insurance is open, the claim is open, I now have a $500 deductible on top of the money that I spent. And if the city doesn't come own up to this scenario, I'm in a lot of trouble. Like, it totally takes me out of commission. I'll lose my job, my car. I'll have a $25,000 or $28,000 debt on a car that I can't drive, so I'll owe all that money with nothing to show for it. It affects my discounts through the mortgage and everything else out where we live, out in Cedar Estates. We'll literally have to change all of our financial institutions. Like I would have better luck winning the lottery than the odds of what happened to my car happening. It was going so fast and so hard when it hit my car that it ricocheted out and flew more than 5 or 6 feet, I would say, into the ditch. A manhole cover is, I don't know the exact poundage, but 200 pounds or more. I went down to there earlier and I talked to a man just further down past those manhole covers at another one. I guess I was at the wrong one earlier. So as I was standing there, he comes out because he's wondering what I'm doing. And he comes out and I tell him the story. He hasn't seen anything. I asked the neighbor next door. They hadn't seen anything. But the man went over and tried to jump up and down on the cover that I thought it was, and I did too. And nothing moved, nothing jarred. Cars went over it. An F-150 went over it. Not a noise, not a sound, not a nothing. Then a quarry truck drives over it. Ting! And it kept going. It didn't take it out, but it sure moved it. And the black marks over that, the manholes up there, it's a quarry truck. Like, the wheels, like, I mean, I can't say, yes, this was a truck that did it, but 2 sets of wheels on both sides, and they're equally parallel, everything in unison. That was an 18, that's like an 18-wheeler or something else of that nature. And I showed you in the video where the lines are and everything else. I even point out that when the incident happened, like the stuff blew out and whatnot. So if that had already been painted, that line that I point out on the green one, I think it is, or maybe it's the blue. They're painted green and blue, each one. That paint wouldn't have been there. It would have been on the exterior of the part that was not broken. But it is broken, and it's spray painted, because between 12 and 12:30, they came out and painted those manholes after my insurance was declined. I need help from someone, because everything I've built up for the past 4 years is about to disappear over a manhole cover. So if somebody could help me, that would be great. Thank you.